June 23, 1941, 06:45 hours, the Western Desert. A dust storm is rolling across the sand. Oberfeldwebel Hermann Grube stands at the side of his 88mm flak gun and watches the horizon. His hands are shaking, not from fear, from anger, from the kind of rage that comes when you know you are about to break every rule in the book and there is nothing you can do about it. The message arrived 1 hour ago. A dispatch rider on a motorcycle, his uniform covered in sand, breathing hard. British tanks, many of them, moving toward this sector. The airfield is 12 kilometers behind him, undefended. The only thing standing between those tanks and the airfield is Grube and his 3 88mm anti-aircraft guns. Anti-aircraft, not anti-tank. The manual is clear. These weapons exist to shoot down aircraft. Pointing them at ground targets violates standing orders. Doing it without permission violates standing orders. If it fails, if those British tanks break through, Grube will answer for it. He knows what his commanders will say. They will say it is suicide. They will say an anti-aircraft gun cannot destroy a tank. They will say the ballistics are wrong, the angles are wrong, everything is wrong, and they might be right. The fear sits in his stomach like a stone. This could destroy him. This could get his men killed. But the alternative is worse. Do nothing, and the tanks take the airfield. Do nothing, and aircraft are lost. Do nothing, and men die. So he has made a decision that is not his to make. He has ordered his 3 guns moved to low ground overlooking the approach road. He has angled them not toward the sky, but toward the earth. He has violated protocol, and now he must live with the consequences. His gunner, Unteroffizier Klaus Schwalbe, approaches. Klaus is 19 years old. This is his first posting. He has never fired the 88 in anger. He looks at Grube with confusion. Klaus has been trained like all gunners are trained. Aim upward, lead the aircraft, compensate for distance and wind. Now Grube has ordered him to aim down the road. Klaus does not understand. No one understands. Grube does not have time to explain. The sound comes first, not the tanks. The sound of an engine, a diesel engine, getting louder, getting closer. Grube's throat goes dry. His decision is about to be tested. In seconds, they will know if this works or if it does not work. If it works, maybe those tanks stop. Maybe the airfield survives. If it does not work, if the 88mm rounds bounce off the armor, if they pass through without damage, those tanks will reach the gun positions. They will reach them very soon. Grube climbs up on the gun platform. He takes the sight. He puts his eye to the optics. There it is. 4 kilometers down the road. A British Matilda II tank, moving slowly, methodically. The commander inside has no idea that a massive 88mm gun is pointed directly at his position. No idea that in the next 10 seconds his life is about to change. Grube's hands are still shaking. He grabs the firing mechanism. Klaus stands ready. The other crews stand ready. All of them waiting. All of them knowing this is wrong. All of them doing it anyway, because sometimes in war you have to do the wrong thing to survive. Grube aims. He compensates for the range. 4 kilometers is extreme. The shell will be in flight for almost 5 seconds. The tank could move. It probably will move. The chances of hitting are maybe 10%, maybe 5%. Grube does not think about probability. He thinks about his order to defend this sector, his order to stop tanks, his order to keep that airfield operational. He thinks about what happens if he does nothing. He pulls the trigger. The recoil throws him backward. The blast is deafening, even with the earmuffs. Klaus yells something, but Grube cannot hear. The barrel is smoking. The 88mm shell is traveling through the air, traveling at 800 meters per second, traveling for 4 kilometers toward a tank that might or might not still be in the same location. Time stops. Everyone is watching. Everyone is waiting. The shell has been in flight for 3 seconds, then 4 seconds, then 5 seconds, then it hits. The Matilda II tank explodes. The explosion is tremendous. Smoke rises from the impact point. Dust clouds the area. When the smoke clears, the tank is burning, not damaged, not smoking, burning, the ammunition inside detonating, the crew inside dead. Klaus starts screaming, not in fear, in triumph. He grabs Gruba and pulls him down from the gun platform. They are laughing, both of them. The other crews are cheering. They cannot believe what they just saw. An 88mm anti-aircraft gun just destroyed a tank from 4 kilometers away. A direct hit on a moving target at extreme range. It should not have been possible. But it happened. Grube does not celebrate yet. More tanks are coming, more engines, more targets. He moves to the next gun position and takes command. The second 88mm gun fires. Another tank, another Matilda II, another direct hit. This time it is easier. Grube understands the ballistics now. He understands how the gun compensates. He understands what range correction is needed. Within 15 minutes, Grube has destroyed 5 British tanks, 5 tanks from his 3 guns. The British armored column has ground to a halt. The remaining tanks are withdrawing, trying to find another approach. The gunners are screaming with joy. They are reloading. They are ready to fire at anything, but the targets are pulling back. The attack has been stopped. The impossible has happened. Grube stands at his gun position and realizes what he has just done. He has violated standing orders. He has used equipment in ways it was never designed to be used. He has committed what would normally be considered mutiny or sabotage or gross insubordination. And it worked. It worked so completely that it might change everything. By sunset, Grube's actions have been reported up the chain of command. By morning, his decision has reached the Luftwaffe leadership. What happened here is impossible. An anti-aircraft gun defeating an armored attack. Guns that were supposed to shoot at the sky are now shooting at the ground. And they are doing it better than any other weapon in the German arsenal. The military mind begins to work. The strategic implications become clear. What if more guns were deployed this way? What if entire flak units were positioned as anti-tank forces? What if the 88mm became not just an aircraft defense weapon, but a general-purpose superweapon that could fight anything on the battlefield? Within weeks, the answer becomes obvious. The 88mm flak gun is being reassigned across North Africa, still officially anti-aircraft, still officially under Luftwaffe command, but practically being used as anti-tank artillery. Grube's violation of protocol has just created a new military doctrine. His choice to break the rules has just given Germany a weapon that terrifies Allied commanders. The British tanks that approached on June 23rd did not understand what they were facing. They thought they would encounter standard anti-tank guns. Instead, they found something far more deadly. They found Oberfeldwebel Hermann Grube and the 88mm gun. And they found out that sometimes the most dangerous weapon is not the one designed for the job, but the one that is improvised in desperation. September 14, 1941. 05:30 hours. A ridge overlooking a valley near Halfaya Pass. Hauptsturmführer Ernst Hoffmann stands at the edge of a tactical map spread across a wooden crate. His hands are trembling, not from cold, from fear, real fear. In 24 hours, he will either become a tactical genius or a court-martialed corpse. There is no middle ground. The problem is written on the map in red pencil. 20 British tanks, maybe more, coming from the east, coming through this valley, and they are coming directly toward his position. Hoffmann has been given command of a panzer company with support attachments. 4 tanks, 2 88mm flak guns under Feldwebel Horst Neumann, and absolutely no authority to tell those 88s what to do. The guns belong to the Luftwaffe. Horst belongs to the Luftwaffe. Hoffmann is Army. This is the problem that nobody wanted to acknowledge. When Horst arrives at dawn with his gun crews, Hoffmann immediately explains what he sees. Look at the terrain. Look at the approach corridor. The British will come in a single column through this bottleneck. They have no other route. They will be moving in daylight. They will be moving slowly through soft sand, and they will be absolutely vulnerable. Horst stares at the map. He is 35 years old, career anti-aircraft officer, 5 years defending airfields from RAF bombers, 5 years of training that taught him one thing: spread out, disperse the guns, divide them so that losing one does not cripple the others. That is anti-aircraft doctrine. That is survival doctrine. Horst says the guns need to be positioned where they have clear sight lines to the sky. They need separation. They need to be able to move quickly if needed. Hoffman feels something cold slide into his chest. This is going wrong before it even begins. He steps closer to Horst. He speaks quietly so that the gun crews cannot hear. Horst, if you position those guns like an anti-aircraft battery, the British will pinpoint them immediately. They are coming directly at us. They will know where you are before you fire the first shot. You will get one volley, maybe two, then they flank you. Then you die. You and all your men. Horst looks at the map again. His jaw is clenching. Hoffman continues. Listen to me. Those tanks are slow. They are heavy. They cannot maneuver quickly in this sand, but they will try to maneuver to flank you. If your guns are separated, you cannot protect each other. You will fall one by one. The moment the first gun is silenced, the second gun is dead. The moment the second gun is dead, the attack succeeds, and we all die. Horst is shaking his head. You cannot concentrate fire like that. It is impossible. The gun layers are not trained for it. We train for AA work. We train for distribution of fire. We train for rapid displacement. Everything you are asking me to do violates training manual. Hoffman moves closer. He speaks so quietly that Horst has to lean in to hear. The British do not care about your training manual. In 3 hours, they will kill you. They will burn your guns. They will kill your men. And nobody will write a report about how you followed procedures. They will just write, "You are dead." So I am asking you to die correctly, or die from trying something new. Your choice. Horst stands at the map for a long moment. Hoffman can see the war happening inside Horst's head. Career training against survival instinct. Years of doctrine against obvious tactical reality. Finally, Horst speaks. If I do this and it fails, they will court-martial me. They will say I violated Luftwaffe regulations. They will say I listened to an army officer instead of my own command. Hoffman nods. I know, and I will testify that I ordered you to do it. They will court-martial me too. At least we will die together. At least we will die trying. Horst closes his eyes. He opens them. Okay. Where do you want the guns? The guns are repositioned by 0800 hours. Horst's crews do not like it. They do not understand it. They ask questions. Horst has no good answers because Horst does not fully understand it himself. But he trusts Hoffman, or at least he trusts that staying dispersed against this particular attack is suicide. So he positions the guns where Hoffman tells him to position them, close together, low profile, angled not toward the sky but toward the approach corridor. 09:10 hours. The first British tank appears at the horizon. Matilda II, 27 tons of armor. The crew inside has no idea what is coming. The radio crackles. Hoffman gives the order. Hold fire. Wait for them to enter the bottleneck. Wait until they cannot escape. The tanks advance. Slowly. Confidently. They have intelligence that says this sector is held by German field artillery and anti-tank guns. Standard equipment. Nothing special. The British commander is moving his column in a V formation. Standard defensive posture. He thinks he has time. 09:35 hours. The column enters the valley. 15 tanks are now in the bottleneck. Behind them, more tanks waiting to advance. Hoffman radios Horst, fire. The first 88mm round travels 3 kilometers in 3 seconds. It hits the lead Matilda II tank dead center on the turret. The explosion is catastrophic. The tank does not slow down. It stops instantly, like someone turned off a switch. Fire erupts from the hull. The The crew is dead before the smoke clears. The British column panics. Drivers accelerate. Commanders try to maneuver, but they cannot maneuver in the bottleneck. They can only drive forward or die. Horst's second, 88 fires. Another tank explodes. The British are screaming on the radio for fire support. They are returning fire, but they cannot see where the German guns are positioned. They cannot establish the range. They are blind. Hoffmann watches from his observation post. He sees something that nobody expected. The British tanks are trying to break out of the valley. They are not attacking the gun positions. They are trying to escape. They are turning, maneuvering, attempting to find a way out. And now is when the real killing begins, because the British are no longer in formation. They are scattered, desperate, completely vulnerable. Horst's guns switch targets rapidly. The gun layers are responding to hand signals and radio commands with a precision that even Horst did not know was possible. The guns are not trying to engage a target area anymore. They are picking specific tanks, one after another. Direct hits, dead tanks, burning steel. Within 7 minutes, 8 British tanks are destroyed or burning. 3 more are damaged heavily. The remaining British tanks are withdrawing from the valley. They have lost the will to advance. They have lost the ability to fight. They have simply lost. Hoffmann looks at his watch. 7 minutes. Horst destroyed more British armor in 7 minutes than a full panzer company could destroy in a day. By positioning 2 guns where doctrine said they should never be positioned. By concentrating fire where anti-aircraft training said concentration was impossible. By abandoning everything he was taught and trusting a tactical principle that nobody had written down yet. Horst climbs down from his gun platform. He is white, shaking. His hands are covered in blood from one of his wounded gunners. He walks directly to Hoffmann and grabs him by the shoulders. That was madness. That worked. That was absolutely insane madness, and it worked perfectly. Hoffmann nods slowly. You violated every Luftwaffe regulation. I violated chain of command. We should both be arrested, but we are alive, and 8 British tanks are not. So we will both write reports saying we coordinated perfectly according to regulations. And nobody will question it because we won. Horst laughs, a sound that is half triumph and half hysteria. 8 tanks. How is that possible? How is that actually possible? Hoffmann walks to the artillery crate and picks up the map. Because you have a 88mm gun and a tactical problem that the 88mm was never designed to solve. So you had to invent a solution. That is what happened here today. You invented something new. By sunset, Hoffmann has compiled his report. By midnight, Horst has compiled his report. Both men have written the same fiction. Everything went according to doctrine. Everything went according to regulation. No violations occurred, just good tactics, just intelligent positioning, just victory. But both men know the truth. What they did today was take a weapon designed for one purpose and use it for something completely different. They proved that positioning matters more than doctrine. They proved that tactical innovation matters more than training manual. They proved that a man willing to risk everything can do the impossible. When Grube receives news of Hoffmann and Horst's success 3 days later, he understands immediately what has happened. The 88 is not just a powerful gun anymore, it is becoming a tactical system. Different commanders are learning different applications. Different gun crews are learning different techniques. And nobody is writing any of it down, because nobody can write it down. It is still officially anti-aircraft doctrine. It is still officially Luftwaffe regulation. But unofficially, a revolution is happening in North Africa. By December 1941, Hoffmann's and Horst's battle report has been circulated quietly through Army commands. Officers are reading it. Tank commanders are reading it. Senior commanders are making notes. What these 2 men figured out in one morning became the foundation for something larger, something that would terrify the British throughout the Desert War. The 88mm was never meant to kill tanks, but men like Hoffmann and Horst figured out how to make it do exactly that. And in doing so, they created a new kind of warfare. March 5, 1943, 0700 hours, RAF Helwan Photo Interpretation Section, Cairo. Wing Commander Peter Armstrong sits at a light table staring at an aerial photograph and realizes something that is going to change the war. His coffee is cold. He does not touch it. He is 32 years old, studied mathematics at Cambridge. Now he looks at pictures for the military, and in this picture he is seeing death, German death. But only if he is right. If he is wrong, if he misinterprets what he is seeing, then it is British death instead. The photograph shows a German airfield near Kasserine, 24 hours old, taken by a Spitfire reconnaissance pilot at dawn. The airfield is empty. No aircraft, no activity. Abandoned, seemingly. But Armstrong knows that abandoned airfields do not have trucks. Abandoned airfields do not have ammunition trucks arranged in a neat square. Abandoned airfields do not have gun crews sleeping next to 88mm guns positioned not vertically, but horizontally. Armstrong picks up the photograph with tweezers, holds it to the light, magnifies it. The 88s are there, unmistakable, but they are not in the anti-aircraft configuration. They are in direct fire positions, anti-tank positions. The realization hits him like electricity. The Germans are concentrating the 88s. They are positioning them forward. They are preparing for something big. He calls his commanding officer, tells him what he sees. The response is disbelief. An anti-aircraft gun in an anti-tank position? Impossible. That is not how the 88 is deployed. That violates German doctrine. Armstrong does not argue. He just shows the photograph. The photograph does not lie. Within 12 hours, the photograph has reached Middle East Air Command. 12 hours after that, it has reached Cairo Army Headquarters. By nightfall, the implications are clear. The Germans are adapting the 88mm gun for anti-tank warfare. If they are using the 88 this way, then British tank units are facing a threat they do not understand, a threat they do not have counters for. But there is a problem. One photograph is not enough. One gun position can be an anomaly, an experiment. Armstrong needs to find more, needs to establish a pattern, needs to prove that this is not an isolated incident but a systematic redeployment. For the next week, Armstrong examines every reconnaissance photograph brought to Helwan. Hundreds of images. He looks for clustered gun positions. He looks for horizontal positioning. He looks for anything that suggests 88s being used as anti-tank artillery. And he finds them. Again and again and again. In 10 days, Armstrong identifies 43 German gun positions that show the 88mm deployed in anti-tank configuration. He compiles a map, creates a briefing, presents it to the Director of Air Operations. The director is skeptical, but cannot argue with the photographs. The photographs are evidence. Hard, undeniable. Evidence. The order comes down on March 17th. Strike the gun positions. Find them. Destroy them. Do not wait for the next German offensive. Do not allow them to concentrate these weapons without cost. Hit them now, while they are staging, while they are vulnerable. Major James Rattlesnake Miller gets the briefing at 0600 hours on March 19th. He sits in a cramped briefing room with 12 other bomber pilots and listens to intelligence describe the German 88mm gun positions. The photographs are projected on a screen. The maps are marked. The targets are circled. Miller is told that these guns represent an existential threat to the 8th Army armor. He is told that destroying them is now a priority higher than bombing airfields or fuel supplies. Miller is 28 years old, Texas. Parents were ranchers. He learned to fly a P-40 before the war and somehow talked his way into flying B-25 Mitchells after Pearl Harbor. He has flown 47 combat missions. He has seen anti-aircraft fire that could fill the sky with steel. He has seen men die in burning aircraft. And he understands one simple fact. Some objectives are worth dying for. Destroying German weapons that kill British tankers is worth dying for. The briefing concludes at 0645 hours. The bombers are ready by 0700 hours. Engines running, crews loading ammunition. Armstrong watches from a distance as Miller's squadron prepares for departure. There is something Armstrong wants to tell him. Something like, "Thank you. Thank you for trusting intelligence analysis. Thank you for treating the photographs as if they mean something." But Armstrong does not approach the pilot. It would be unprofessional. So he watches and waits. The bombers depart at 0730 hours. 12 B-25 Mitchells in formation, flying at 200 feet altitude toward Kasserine Valley, flying so low that they can see the dust from vehicle movement on the ground, flying directly into German anti-aircraft fire. Miller has his navigator plot a course that will keep them out of the heaviest AA concentrations. It is impossible. The Germans have anti-aircraft guns everywhere, flak positions throughout the valley, light caliber stuff mostly, 20 mm and 37 meters, but concentrated enough to be lethal, enough to bring down an aircraft if you get unlucky. The radio crackles. German spotters reporting the aircraft. Anti-aircraft batteries aligning. The Americans are coming. The bombers approach the gun position that Armstrong identified. 18 88mm guns arranged in a staging area. Gun crews sleeping in tents. Ammunition trucks parked in orderly rows. Vehicles lined up for fuel and supplies. It is perfect target, completely perfect and completely dangerous. Miller descends to 150 feet, below treetop level, so low that flak bursts past beneath him, so low that small arms fire is actually more dangerous than the big guns because the trajectory is more predictable. The bomber bay opens, the first stick of bombs falls, directly into the gun position. The ammunition trucks explode. The explosion is massive. Secondary explosions follow as 88mm ammunition detonates uncontrollably. From his second bomber, a pilot named Richardson sees the explosions. He rolls his aircraft toward the smoke and counts. 1 gun position destroyed, 2 gun positions destroyed, 3 gun positions destroyed. The Germans are scattered, crews running, vehicles accelerating. But there is no coordinated response because there is no air defense. The 88s are anti-tank guns. They cannot elevate high enough to hit aircraft flying at 150 feet. They can only watch their own destruction. By the time Miller's bombers depart, 18 88mm guns are burning. 37 German soldiers are dead. An entire gun company is gone, erased, and more importantly, proof has been established. The 88mm can be destroyed. The 88mm is vulnerable. The 88mm is killable. Miller lands at base with 1 engine on fire. His left wing is shredded by flak. The tail section is punctured with holes. The landing is rough. The aircraft bounces, but it stays on the ground. The crew survives. When Miller climbs out of the cockpit, he is shaking. Not from fear, from adrenaline, from the knowledge that his bombing run succeeded, that the targets were destroyed, that British tanks will now advance without facing 18 additional 88mm guns. Armstrong receives the results within hours. The gunfire goes out immediately. 12 aircraft, 18 guns destroyed, minimal losses, 1 aircraft damaged, no aircraft shot down. The operation succeeded beyond expectations. And now there is political capital to spend. Now Armstrong can request resources. Now Armstrong can propose a sustained campaign. The order for Operation Hammer comes down on March 22nd. A sustained bombing campaign against German 88mm gun positions throughout North Africa. Armstrong will provide the targets. Miller will deliver the attacks. Other bombing squadrons will be involved. The goal is simple: destroy as many 88mm guns as possible. Disrupt German ability to concentrate anti-tank fire. Make the 88 so expensive to deploy that the Germans cannot afford to mass them. Over the next 3 months, Armstrong and Miller become an unstoppable team. Armstrong identifies gun positions. Miller destroys them. Armstrong finds new positions. Miller destroys those too. By June 1943, over 400 German 88mm guns have been destroyed or damaged. The German ability to conduct offensive operations in North Africa has collapsed. Tank formations advance faster. Infantry units advance faster. The Axis presence is shrinking daily. On June 15th, Armstrong and Miller meet for the first time. It is at a celebration at Middle East Air Command Headquarters. Armstrong is receiving a decoration. Miller is receiving a second decoration. They shake hands awkwardly. Two men who have worked together through photographs and radio calls, but never face to face. Armstrong looks Miller in the eye and says something quiet. "Thank you for making the photographs mean something." Miller nods slowly. Those photographs meant everything. Every gun we destroyed was a gun that was not going to kill a tank crew. That is what your pictures did. They saved lives. They changed the trajectory of this war. Later that night, Armstrong sits alone in the intelligence section looking at new reconnaissance photographs. The photographs show fewer gun concentrations now. The Germans have adapted, dispersed the 88s further, made them harder to find. But they can be found. They can always be found. And as long as they can be found, Miller's bombers can destroy them. Armstrong looks at the photograph and thinks about Gruber, the German officer who first violated the doctrine and positioned the 88 as an anti-tank gun. Gruber had no idea that his tactical decision would lead to strategic vulnerability, had no idea that his innovation would create a weakness that the Allies would exploit. Gruber changed how the war was fought on the ground. Armstrong and Miller changed how the war would be fought in the air above that ground. The 88mm gun is still the most fearsome anti-tank weapon on the battlefield. But it is no longer invincible. It is no longer a weapon that can be positioned without cost. Every time German commanders position an 88mm gun concentration, they are creating a target. Every concentration is a vulnerability, and every vulnerability will be found by men like Armstrong and destroyed by men like Miller. By August 1943, when the Allied presence in North Africa finally becomes overwhelming, the German 88mm gun has been reduced from a terror weapon to a rationed resource. Germany cannot replace the guns and crews fast enough. The losses exceed production. The gun that was supposed to dominate the desert is now something Germany must protect. Ironically, to protect something, you must make it worth protecting. And something that is worth protecting cannot be freely deployed in offensive operations. The Germans have been defeated not by armor, not by infantry, but by one intelligence officer who could read photographs and one bomber pilot who could turn photographs into actions. July 12, 1944, 16:35 hours, Eastern Front, Oral Sector, Soviet offensive raging for 72 hours, non-stop. Feldwebel Horst Neumann stands next to the last operational 88mm gun of his battery and watches it die. There are 8 gun crews supposed to be here, 12 officers, 64 enlisted men. Horst has 5 men left. 5. The 8 guns that arrived in December have been reduced to this single barrel. Everything else is ashes. Everything else is history. This gun is dying because there is no ammunition truck coming. There is no replacement crew coming. There is no relief coming at all. The gun fires. The recoil drives it backward into the embankment. The shell travels 4 kilometers toward a Soviet tank concentration. Horst does not even wait to see if it connects. He knows it matters. It always matters. But it also does not matter anymore because there are no more shells. The ammunition box on the gun platform is empty except for the 2 rounds remaining. 2 rounds. After that, 8 months of Horst's life become completely pointless. Klaus Schwalbe, the gunner, is still here. The same Klaus from North Africa. The same teenager who fired with Horst in June 1941 when the first 88 defeated a British tank. Klaus is 31 years old now, looks 60, burned on the left side from a bombing attack 3 weeks ago, barely able to move his arm. But he insists on firing the gun, says if this is the last gun, he will fire it until it stops, until there is literally nothing left. Klaus loads the first of the 2 remaining shells. The gun fires. A direct hit on a Soviet tank. Horst sees the impact through his binoculars. The tank explodes. The Soviet advance hesitates. For maybe 30 seconds, the advance hesitates. That is all the German line gets. 30 seconds because Klaus killed one tank. The sound of Soviet artillery intensifies. The sound is always the same, heavy, inevitable. Russian guns have been firing since dawn, and they have not stopped. Shells impact around the gun position. Shrapnel cuts through the air. One of the gun crew, Schroeder, a replacement who Horst barely knows, is hit. The shell fragment goes through his chest. He is down, not screaming, not moving, just down. Horst looks at Klaus. Klaus looks back. Both men understand the decision that is about to be made. There is one shell left. One, and there are Soviet tanks approaching. Horst can see them now. T-34s, Soviet heavy armor, moving steadily forward, relentlessly forward. Nothing will stop them, because Germany has no ammunition, has no reinforcements, has no hope. Klaus loads the final shell. His hands are shaking, not from fear, from certainty, from knowing that when this shell fires, his war ends. When this shell fires, he becomes a rifleman guarding a gun that cannot fire, a rifleman defending a position that will be overrun in hours, maybe minutes. Klaus asks Horst if he can choose the target. Not ask permission, just ask. And Horst realizes that Klaus understands something that Horst does not want to understand. Klaus wants his last shell to count, wants it to be the best shot he has ever made. Horst nods. Choose carefully. Klaus waits until a Soviet tank is exactly positioned. T-34. Commander's hatch open. Commander standing up exposed. The tank is moving slightly left. Klaus compensates. Klaus has done this thousands of times. This is no different, except it is different because this is the last time. This is the moment when Horst's entire war, from June 1941 to July 1944, ends. Klaus fires. The shell travels exactly as it always has. Velocity 800 meters per second. Ballistics perfect. Impact catastrophic. The T-34 burns. The commander inside dies. One more dead Soviet. One more gun destroyed. One more moment of victory that is completely meaningless because there are no more shells. Klaus climbs down from the gun. His face is empty. Not sad, not relieved. Empty. He looks at the gun like a man saying goodbye to something that defined his life. Because it did. For him. For Horst. For every moment from 1941 to 1944. Horst takes the pistol from his holster. Not to do anything dramatic, just habit. Just the fact that if the Soviets breach the position, there will be a choice to make, and the pistol will be part of that choice. He does not speak this out loud, neither does Klaus. The Soviet artillery continues. Shells impact everywhere now. The Germans are retreating. They have been retreating for months. They will continue retreating. The East is being lost. Germany is being lost, and Horst and Klaus and 4 other men are going to defend a gun that can no longer fire. By nightfall, Horst's position is surrounded. The Soviet advance has bypassed them, has moved past them toward the next position, which will also fall, which will also be abandoned, which will also end in the same way. The Germans holding out in pockets, the Germans buying time that nobody needs buying, the Germans fighting for positions that are already lost. Horst sits next to the 88mm gun at 2300 hours and realizes that this gun has killed more in this war than he has killed in peacetime, has saved more lives than it has taken. But for what? For a Germany that is now losing, for a war that is already lost, for a tactic that Klaus invented in the desert that became Germany's greatest weakness because Germany could not sustain it. Klaus approaches Horst, hands him a photograph. It is from 1941, shows 2 young men standing next to an 88mm gun in the North African desert. Grube in the picture is smiling. Klaus is barely visible in the background. Horst never noticed Klaus was in the photograph until now. "Where did you get this?" Horst asks. Gruba sent it to me. Before he died, said I should remember that we were good at something once, that we figured something out that nobody else understood, that we made something powerful. Horst looks at the photograph, looks at the two men who are smiling, looks at the gun behind them. That gun is long dead, destroyed somewhere in the desert or Sicily or Italy. Klaus is dying slowly from burns and exhaustion. Gruba is definitely dead, killed in a bombing. Horst is about to be surrounded and probably captured. The 88mm gun did not lose this war, but the 88mm gun caused this war to be lost differently. Because once Germany discovered the 88 could kill tanks, the 88 became the only thing Germany had to fight tanks. And when the Allies found a way to destroy the 88, they destroyed Germany's only option. The gun that was supposed to be the solution became the problem. The gun that worked brilliantly in 1941 and 1942 became the gun that guaranteed defeat in 1943 and 1944. At 02:30 hours, Soviet infantry attacks the position. Horst and Klaus and the 4 remaining men withdraw. They do not destroy the gun. They do not have explosives. The gun will be captured by the Soviets and either destroyed or studied. Horst does not know, does not care. All he knows is that the 88 has fired its last round for Germany. By morning, Horst and Klaus are separated. Klaus is captured by Soviet forces. Horst escapes to another position. They never see each other again. By 1945, Klaus is in a Soviet prisoner of war camp. By 1945, Horst is in a hospital recovering from wounds. By 1945, the war is ending. By 1945, every 88mm gun has been either destroyed or abandoned. In November 1944, when German General Staff finally admits privately what they have been hiding, the 88 has become more burden than weapon. It is a gun that cannot be replaced fast enough. It is a gun that cannot be supplied to the front. It is a gun that creates a target for air attack. It is a gun that is far more useful to the Allies as a logistical problem than it ever was useful to Germany as a weapon. The 88mm gun killed more tank crews than any other gun in World War II, but it killed them in 1941, 1942, and the early part of 1943. After that, it was killed, not by enemy guns, not by enemy tanks. Killed by air power, killed by logistics, killed by the simple mathematics of production versus loss. Klaus Schwalbe fired the last round of an 88mm gun in Germany's arsenal on July 12, 1944. After that round, every other gun was either destroyed, abandoned, or withdrawn. The weapon that began as an innovation in North Africa ended as Germany's greatest strategic liability. The gun that Horst and Klaus learned to love became the gun they learned to hate, because it represented Germany's fundamental problem, a military that could innovate tactically but could not sustain strategically, a nation that could win battles but could not win wars. By the time the 88mm is finally withdrawn from frontline service in late 1944, the damage is done. Germany has spent millions in manufacturing resources to produce a weapon that the Allies have systematically destroyed. Germany has lost thousands of trained gun crews to air attack and ground assault. Germany has put so much emphasis on the 88 that it has neglected other weapons development. The gun that was supposed to be the ultimate solution has become the ultimate problem. On the day the German armed forces surrender on May 8, 1945, there are no operational 88mm guns left under German command. Every gun has been destroyed or captured. Every crew has been killed or captured or scattered. The 88 that had struck fear into the hearts of Allied tankers for 3 years is now just scrap metal. Klaus Schwalbe survives the Soviet POW camp and is liberated in 1945. He lives until 1987. Horst Neumann survives his wounds and the war and lives until 1992. Neither man ever speaks publicly about the 88mm gun. Neither man ever gives an interview. Neither man ever writes down the story. The story of the gun that worked and then did not work is left to be told by people who were not there. by historians who did not fire it, by nations who fought against it. But Claus and Horst know what they know. They know that for one perfect moment in 1941, they invented something that nobody else understood, something that worked, something that was supposed to change the war. And they know that innovation without sustainability is just theater. Tactics without logistics is just hope. And hope is what killed the 88mm gun. Not enemy fire, not enemy tactics. Just the slow, grinding mathematics of industrial attrition. Just the fact that Germany could not make them faster than the Allies could destroy them.